My name is Monica Crystal Rose. I've been a photographer for 10 years and I'm based in New York City.
I'm Jess. I'm the lead product designer at MPB and I am also a photographer.
Hi, my name is Lisa Maria Sabontang. I'm a fashion and portrait photographer based in Berlin.
I'm Stephanie Floyd. I've been a photographer for maybe 10, 11 years now.
I'm LA Creativity. I'm a multidisciplinary visual artist and I shoot creative portraits.
My name is Renee. I'm a graphic designer and part-time photographer.
My name is Miriam Salavarzi and I'm a cinema specialist. I've been a photographer for about 5 or 6 years.
My name is Natalia. I'm working at MPB and one of my hobbies is photography.
I'm Maggie Hinton, Partnerships and Collaboration here at MPB.
I'm Irene Cruz and I'm a Spanish photographer based in Berlin for 10 years now.
I'm Chloe from MPB and I'm a music photographer.
I'm Hannah. I'm an account manager at MPB in Berlin, but also I'm a wedding photographer.
My name's Isabel Malia and I've been a fine art photographer for 4 years.
My name's Jamela and I'm the owner of Mars Photography Ltd. I am a portrait and wedding photographer.
I'm Constanza, but I like to present myself as Coco. I'm a dispatch operative in MPB Berlin and a graphic designer and street photographer.
My name is Claudia and I am a product specialist at MPB and a music photographer. My third picture is a picture of the lead singer of Dreamwife. I really like this picture because she looks very powerful. That was a very powerful performance.
This image is from my series Unrequited. So it was originally supposed to be about duality, about the realness of relationships.
My favorite image, that's a hard question because I have so many. But the one I've chosen, I was just starting photography in New York City. What I really like about it is the makeup, actually. The artist I was working with, she was also like a little more experimental and I just gave her free rein.
So I am a street photographer first and foremost, so most of the stuff that I shoot is on the go. So sometimes I shoot through the subway rails or through people's arms. So this image came along where I was on a crowded subway and somebody's arm was over me and I saw this guy sitting here on the subway and I was like, oh, he looks pretty cool.
This is one of my favorite portraits. It's a maternity portrait of one of my clients. I absolutely love how it came out simply because at this stage I feel like I was really trying to master my light within photography. I used a grid on my 135 Octo and it literally, everything I envisioned came to life on that day. The way the light hit her was absolutely amazing.
So my favorite picture, I took it in Italy. It's basically a little car and it had a horse head through the window. And I really like these kind of random pictures where it doesn't make sense and they are just mysterious because they have a storytelling.
My favorite image that I chose was actually from a recent event that we did with a partner of ours, Pursuit of Portraits. It was at an event where we had actual models and it was one of the first photographs that I had taken where I was actually engaged with a model and just looking at it from a purely photographic stance. And that was really an interesting thing for me because it was just about the moment and the photograph.
This picture is a reflection of how I feel about my homeland, Ukraine. If we are talking about the spirit of the country, Ukraine is usually a female character. And in this horrible situation of an actual war, this female character seems so fragile, but in the same time, so strong and beautiful that you are automatically became inspired by this and you want to protect this.
So one of my current work is The Holy Women, which I shot in Ghana last year, and it's about women who have been sexually abused by men. It's about uplifting women and also like bringing their story out, how they actually want to be portrayed outside of the world.
I chose this picture because it's not perfectly sharp, but it does tell the story and it wasn't staged. And there was this woman and this man sitting in the pub and they were both sitting under the ladies and gents sign and the color palette was perfect, red and blue, and they weren't noticing anybody around them. And I was really hoping that, you know, they wouldn't notice me because that would have ruined the whole story.
So I took this image for fun with my best friend during the summer, during COVID. We had kind of gone in with this idea like of a theme on the photos of kind of like this like Barbie-like style, what the ideal body looks like. The Barbie box has this little plastic in front of it and Barbie's stuck in her box.
The reason why I really like this image is because it is of a band that is female fronted, and the image itself is really dynamic. The two performers create a nice X shape, which I think is very visually appealing. And also it's one of the first pictures I took of a gig, which I was really proud of.
My favorite image ever, it was actually the first photo I take in Berlin. It was raining and I was feeling inspired by this light after the rain. And I think this image is so beautiful because I think it transmits the feeling I was having in that time. I was totally happy. And I think somehow I found my voice in photography.
So this is my favorite image, probably because it's my most recent. I feel like I'm at this point where every time I create something, it's my new favorite. It's my new best photo I've ever taken. This image features my model Bailey, and I just invited her over one day because I had an image of a still life but with a person, and I really love her jet black hair, so this is really a contrast that I wanted to capture. And I have so many fruits and flowers and fabric laying around that we just threw together and made it happen.
One of my favorite images is from a tribal body art series that I created in lockdown. This is my favorite image because it allowed me to use different mediums to create the final product. So I painted the tribal body art on my subject and then photographed it.
This is one of my favorite shots from a Berlin wedding of a couple I really, really love. It all just felt perfectly together. It was the perfect couple on a very nice day in a very nice nature environment. Yeah, it's just perfect. I just really like it, like the composition, the light, everything was nice.
It is a portrait image, but you don't see the people in the photo, but it still gives you that emotion that there is something there in the image. I think the viewer gives their own interpretation when they look at the image. And I feel like that's like the best art. You meant it for something and then everyone can just like have their own stories behind, you know, the art you created.
When I look back on photographs that I've taken, this one sort of stands out as a moment where I started actually thinking about myself as a photographer.
Most impressive for me personally is that I didn't even plan that my model will look like a butterfly. I believe you have heard about butterfly effect and of how the world is actually deeply interconnected and how powerful this effect could be.
We had like, you know, just had the cellophane straight over and it was cool. And then we started like wrinkling a little bit. We liked the way the light was reflecting off of it. And it kind of, to me, started to develop into like, you know, like we're crushing that plastic box and, you know, we're kind of breaking out of it and trying to break the glass ceiling. So to me, I felt like the image was more powerful because we're not necessarily still stuck behind the cellophane and this glass. We're breaking through it and we're pushing. So this to me was more of like a, you know, like there's still a standard, but we're kind of putting an end to that.
I really like to shoot it around with color film. I prefer to do like street photography and just focus on what's unusual around me.
I shot it on a Sony a6000. It was my first camera and actually just sold it last year. And I was using at the time a 30mm prime lens and a 50mm prime lens from Sigma.
At this gig, I've used my Nikon Z6, which is very good in low light, and I've used the Sigma 24-105 f.4.
One of my main goals, and it's been my goal since I started photography, is to be inclusive. I came in as a model and I really wish that there was someone to capture me in a very specific way. That's part of like what makes my job really fun, is that I get to make people live out their fantasies, and it's really important that everyone can see themselves in this like beautiful, dreamy way.
My advice for other female photographers would be to A, be confident and don't feel like you have to conform to stereotypes. B, be safe. 3, really don't be afraid of putting yourself out there. Keep your portfolio up to date and your social media.
My advice would be to always reach out to your community. I've had so much success like just asking other women who do creative work to help me out on shoots. Also, don't underestimate yourself. Other people can always see your potential even if you don't see it in yourself.
My advice to female photographers is to find what is really matters for you and to show it to the world.
So my advice for other women or other photographers who are coming into this business or also want to like explore this side of photography, just be yourself. Not only be yourself, but try to identify yourself as a person and as an artist. And what do you actually want to capture with your lens and what do you see in this world?
My advice as a music photographer is be persistent, don't be scared of emailing someone, the promoter, 5 times, because this is usually how you get a photo pass for a show. And also be nice to yourself and also to other photographers, because photography is very competitive, but it's very important to just be nice to yourself and to other photographers.
My advice is to pay attention to what's around you and try to capture it, because the unusual, it's what makes the memories more interesting.
Just get yourself out there and tell everyone you know, in particular in the field that you want to be in, about what you do. Don't be intimidated by anyone, and especially in the music industry, there'll be a lot of people in the pit. And also don't be afraid to speak to other photographers so you can collaborate for this particular shoot in general, because it was quite a small venue. I just spoke to the photographer who was also there, and we swapped sides, and we were just trying to help each other out as well to get the best shot that we can.
My advice to other female photographers will be just to be themselves when they are taking pictures and to express whatever they are feeling in that moment, to be authentic and just to find their style, their voice in the photography field.
My advice for any female in the photography industry is not to allow people and their opinions to take your power away from you. And when you have your camera in your hand, you know what you're doing. So go out there and create some magic.